I'll do a few adjustments in Maya. I'll just drag this out, remove. We won't be needing these. And just leave it like that for now. Okay. So I'll probably, there are a couple of ways of doing this. First, we can assign that image as a texture, or we can create an image plane, or a few other ways. So pressing spacebar, we have the top front orthographic views. Maybe we can use the top one, and I'll go for image plane, import image, find my image, just this one, on my desktop. And right now it's quite small. If you look at the squares, I have my grid set up to 200 units, which is this, from 0 to plus, minus, y, x, and z, and all the rest. Is 200, and then I have grid lines every 100, and then subdivisions each 10 centimeters, which is one of these. So the size of this is quite small, so we can have this as quite a large sword, maybe 1 meter from here to here, 1.5 meters. It's an angel, so usually angels being described as much taller than human beings. Okay. So you can do that. You can adjust these as you wish. Then we don't need the grid anymore. So the first step is we need to identify what parts, and separating the parts, you know. So how would we do that? We take the pen. There was a pen here. Yeah. Take this pen, and let's think of the parts, right? We have this cylinder here. That's a cylinder. This is diamond plus something else, which is a composite mesh. We need to make it separate. Oh, I cannot do that. I forgot. This is how it works. Quite funny. So we have this. We have the angel bit, which we don't really need the second wing, right? The second wing, it can be the same, just we can duplicate it. So basically we only need this. Okay, that's the only thing we need to have. Then we have these floating elements, and this can be a different element, and then the blade, which is one. Okay, Alt and middle mouse click to go in and out. Okay, so as I said, we can have different workflows or different methods to generate this shape. We can start with a simple polygon cube, and then we just extrude it out. But today we'll do something different, and this works very well when you have something which is a little bit more complex and it's a little bit harder to work with. Okay, so next step, generate a polygonal plane, and I'll just scale this up. And also, if I press T, you see we get subdivisions, width and height. I don't really need anything. This is going to be our drawing canvas. Basically, we're going to draw on this. Two ways. We can draw using multicut, or we can use this as a live surface in order to use Quadra. Or Quadra is mainly used for retopology. It's a retopology tool, but we can use it in other scenarios. Okay, so we are in perspective mode. Yeah, and we can just move this slightly higher, and or I think even we can move it even lower. Let's see, we're just pressing spacebar, going here, and with that plane, this is going to be our live surface. Let's just name it so we can see. I don't need this blue pencil here, just delete it. So live surface, and then we can use quadra. Okay, again, live surface, selected, and press on the horse hoof here. And now it says surface is live surface. This is being mentioned here. And then we can use quadra to draw some points. Yeah, and I'll show you how to do that right now. I'm just going to undo a little bit. Okay. So how do we start? First, I think I would start with the blade. I like to start working with the blade first. I have my image. So if you look here, I want to center my this live surface. Okay, not the live surface, sorry, the image plane. I want to center it. As you can see, it's not really symmetrical. So that was a problem from Photoshop. I think we could have solved it inside Photoshop. But in case you have minor discrepancies, that's fine. We can just tweak the image plane, rotate it and move it a little bit until it meets with your main grid lines, the thicker ones. Okay, that's okay. So let's go back to the live surface, enable it. Actually, the live surface, we don't have to really move it. I think did I rotate it? No, I didn't. So the live surface is live. I shouldn't be able to select it now. And then we have quadra, and we can click on points and start with the blade. Okay, so we're only going to work on half, and I click on 4 points, then I use shift to complete that that polygonal mesh. Okay, then we can use tab to extrude if you want to. So I'm not bothered with these details. I can use multicut, or I can put them on top as floating geometry or different geometry. That's completely fine. For now, I'm just interested in the overall shape. Just making things. So we are interested in getting more or less, the topology. So if you see this is the sharp bit, the lighter part, and this is the basically it's quite flat, or even if it's not perfect sphere, it's fine. We can align it later. Okay, something like that, and one more. Just needs to go inside here. Okay, that's how pretty much sword would look like. I hope you guys are not sleepy, as my voice sometimes makes people sleep. That's not the purpose of this. This is not ASMR. Okay, so it's going well. few more. So this one, we're just gonna have to think of how we close it up here. And it should close probably with a triangle. We're not afraid of triangles, are we? Yeah, we just want it fairly low poly, not too many polygons. Okay. This one can be all extruded out, but I prefer to just do it one by one like this. It feels a little bit, it feels better. Just have a little bit more control. And you can take your, artistic freedoms. Like, you don't have to stick exactly how you see this. By the way, you have keyboard and mouse shortcuts with Quadro, right? Tab, we're using tab. And probably the middle is going to be cut or carved in. We can do that you can do it now if we want to, or we can just use other tools to do that. So these are going to actually come lower, and this is going to be higher. Okay, and if we don't like it, we can always add more geometry. You can use Control to add edge loops in this area, in that area, whatever. Slowly, slowly, yeah. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, let's I think it might be a good idea if we just prepare this geometry. So I just press Control, then edge loop here, and I check how it ends. And I don't like that it goes all the way. I change to edge here, extend edge, and I just I deleted that one because I don't like how it goes. So I'll probably use different method to get that done. Probably like that. Control, yeah, and then Shift. Just experiment with the then we can move all this back. You can have a triangle here, just optimize the geometry a little bit. And up to this point, right? Okay, that's nice. I'm just going to close this because this actually is going to be part of it's going to be extruded in the surface. Maybe there was another way, a quicker way to do this, but I just stick with this tool for now. Any, recommendations on the workflow, they're welcomed. Obviously for me and for the other people who watch this, so we can get better. Okay, So that's quite good. I think it's efficient and good. Now we want to move this on the other side. Perhaps I want this to be not so sharp, and I want it, you know, like a slope here and smoother. Okay, like something like this. And then we can get out of the tool, which is Q, go to object mode, and we go to perspective. And you'll see that because my plane is on the bottom, maybe yours might not be on the bottom. So now we want to actually make modifications to this geometry. So we need to remove the live surface. Otherwise, it's going to try to be sticked on that plane. So just disable it from here. So now we can move this higher. We can use 4 to see the wireframe. And we select the first edge and the last edge and double click. In case it's not working, yeah, just add them one by one. Or so we got the first, we got the last. Just pressing spacebar. I press R, and now I'm going to scale this because I want this to be straight, very, very straight and very flat, right? So all these vertices and edges are going to be perfectly aligned. Then I can press X and I can snap it to the grid. I think there was another way of snapping. I cannot remember where it was. Move snap settings, retain component spacing. If you disable that, they're probably, let's see. Let's say that this is like that and this is like that. And then when I press, I have the tool settings. So I just double clicked on this button and I got the tool and I disabled the retain component spacing. Now if I press X, they're going to be scaled basically. They're not going to keep that spacing. So that's quite useful. All right. So they're perfectly aligned. Now we can duplicate it on the other side, or we can work on this, give it some thickness, right? So both ways are good. There's no wrong way on doing this. 6 and extrude. I just use shift right click while in object mode to extrude. Please remember to have the live surface off. Otherwise it's going to stick to that surface and you're not going to like it. Okay. So how thick we want it to be, it's debatable. And I select this edge, which I want it sharp, and I move it. I move it lower like this. This way I create this crease, which I want. Okay. Next step, let's mirror this. Mirroring, it's fun. If you know how to use mirroring, it's quite fun and useful. So right now, our object is perfectly aligned, and the x-axis it goes through my object, right? It intersects my object from one side to the other. So this is the mirror direction that we want to have, this red one which goes through. So let's try and mirror this with the object in object mode and mirror, and we go to option box. and we say, hey, I want on my X, and the arrow points out plus, yeah, plus values, and opposite means that it's negative values. We are my manipulator, this manipulator right now, if I press Control Shift right click, it's set to world and not object, right? That's a difference. Maybe in this case it's no difference, but if you rotate your object around, you might have different. Okay, so be sure, like Control Shift right click and world, or use this little indicator there. So we want it on the X negative, mirror axis position. I'll just use the world and apply. Okay, and sometimes you might have problems with the merge threshold. Sometimes your your vertices on the border, they might merge. Like if I put here 10, it doesn't, it's not showing anything. Weird. Sometimes merge border. Oh, that's the merge threshold. Okay. Yeah, sometimes these vertices on the border, they kind of like, they're a bit funny. Let's try it. 0 offset, and we can, bridge the border or merge the vertices. We can use 0.1. Okay, and if I just select one of these vertex, not dragging, select, just clicking on it, move it, and I see that there's nothing else there, and it did a good job. Yeah, that's a good job. Okay, next thing is that we want to do the extrusion of this. Maybe we can make this texture this as a light effect, emissive, or I don't know, something like that. Okay, so extrude, I can press shift and move this lower, or I can it's going to select these. I went Control Z. So we're using tab. You're going to select these with tab. Yeah, you can deselect and select things with tab. So shift right click, extrude face, move this inwards and give it a little bit of an offset like that. So it's not going to be really flat or really, okay. Then we can look at these faces, select one of these vertices, and I want to see if it's flat. It seems to be quite flat. Okay, so that's good. This edge, if we want, we can double click on, can bevel this, but I don't think that's really necessary at this moment. Maybe we want that sharpness to be there. So I'll just undo, leave it there for now. Okay, so the top of the sword is completed. Now we can proceed with the bottom. So I can use Control Spacebar to go into Pro mode, Control 1 to isolate my selection. And let's mirror this on the bottom side. Yeah. So we try shift right click, mirror, and Y, and apply. You can see that it used the word and the word for Y zero location is here. It's not here. So I just did this on purpose so you guys can see what's happening. But you can use this threshold. I think I'm in the offset, and you can bring it in. Okay, or we can actually move our pivot point. Let's see if our pivot point is sticking on the bottom. So using W to move, and then D and V, holding from the center and snapping the pivot there. Okay, so basically now the center or the pivot of my object is here, which is useful because when I'm going to mirror, let's see what's going to happen. And I change this to object and Y towards negative, that's correct. It's going to behave like this. Okay, and we have this mesh threshold. For some reason, it appears that this mesh threshold is not working because by now it should have just welded all the points on the edge. I don't know why it's not working, or maybe I'm doing something wrong. But I leave mine as just 0.1. Then Q to go out of the tool. I'll select one of these vertices and I just move them up just to be sure that it's completed. Okay, so that was the blade. I guess I'll see you in the next video.